Day 7. Day 7 of doing these daily videos every single day since Monday. And I know at the beginning I was like, I think these are going to be more daily vlogs, but it doesn't make sense saying daily vlogs if I'm not really showing you my life. I'm just really showing you like state of us like recording, of like me either doing it here in the office on a treadmill at my gym or just on some random bench or out of my trunk. So more so these are just gonna be like daily videos of me just ranting of things that are I feel like would just be more not noise to the world, but something that's worth putting out there into the world that's just actually signal that's actually advantageous and beneficial to people than just putting out noise that doesn't make sense. And me definitely not talking about things that I don't know anything about, but more so talking about things that I continuously think very deeply throughout the day and with clients and for myself in the health and fitness space, within the self-development space, and in like just philosophy. Those are like my big three areas, and that's really what the accumulation of all these talks are going to be for the next 340 something days, because I started halfway through the year halfway through January making these videos, and I'm going to continue making these videos all the way to the very end of the year as a challenge for myself to just produce more content and to just get better at the skill of articulating my thoughts and like having to read, having to think, having to articulate them through writing and speaking and learning the skill of talking to a camera. Like for example, normally when I speak to a camera, my heart rate, like right now I can say it's 99-101, which is pretty normal. But before, my heart rate got up to the point of like 120, 130 every time I'm speaking to a camera. So I'm just squishing this down of the learning process of this by just talking to you guys. And something really cool that I saw earlier before I actually like get into today's like actual video, but just cool that the consistent effort of intentional effort and strategically, one of the videos got 252 views from 3 days ago. That's pretty amazing when all the other videos were anywhere between 10 to 20 something views. And like I'm approaching this not with any type of expectation of like from the outside looking in, which is huge for me, which is something that I'm over time having to reframe and work on, but more so focusing on the process, which sounds really cliche, but really that's where the pursuit of happiness, like the happiness it actually is the intentional effort I'm putting in each day of recording these videos, of thinking about them critically in my mind for me to be able to articulate them, and just me just building more self-respect and confidence in myself to do this with the skill of speaking. And then as I continue to get better with this, as I am speaking more on a vulnerability level of talking about the content of like it's more science and the whys, things like that, this just gets better, and focusing on that is really cool. So thank you for you guys for watching that video. Like that's super sick. Okay. But coming to my thought on this video is more so on the thought of patience. And I made a real TikTok video and just a short form video I posted on both Instagram and TikTok earlier that I want to read because this kind of hit, and I was actually pretty proud of like this one smashing. So I'm just gonna read it. Reading over it, it could have been, maybe I could have like tweaked a little bit, but it was right. It was right. I'll iterate it as I go throughout the years and my days and stuff, but it'll get better. So what the message for today's post was, it's on patience. So it's true that patience is an essential virtue that you must develop. Anything worth having requires and demands the payment of time. You can't speed up time, but you can redirect your attention and focus. Focus on the daily tasks and actions. Pay attention to the sense of pride you will receive at the end of each day with each intentional effort and grace for yourself. Keep your attention and focus busy on the present and let time run its course. Before you know it, you'll get there. And I want to talk about patience is because this concept really applies to really every facet and domain whatever your goal may be. Maybe your goal is you're on the health and fitness journey of like, hey, I want to lose this much weight, I want to build this much muscle, I want to be able to do this lift, to prep myself for this competition, for this meet, for this race. Or in other domains, like from a professional domain of like, I want to be able to get this promotion, I want to be able to make this amount of money, get this many leads and clients for my business, or just be able to have that house, be able to afford that car, and or any other luxuries, or really any type of goal that you have, any type of mountain you're trying to climb in your life. And with any type of mountain, any type of goal that is beyond, almost at the rim of your belief, that's out at that stratosphere, that is almost barely impossible to you, there's a distance between where you are now to that destination, and that gap is quite wide, and it can be really daunting to see that goal and just even understanding how far that is away from you. And that can be daunting and soul crushing, if that's the word I'm looking for here. But and then most things that you hear from people, that people have said in my entire life, is have more patience, as if it's this thing that I can just do. And of course, I do see it as a skill that you can acquire, but I think I heard it from a conversation with a guy named Alex Ramosi, or a different podcast. There's a podcast I remember on the distinct walk that I was doing over a bridge one day, and the message, like, what is ingrained in me, and this is how I kind of view patience, is that like, if you have a goal between where you are now to where you're trying to get to and that destination, and the time horizon is quite long and elongated, especially as you trip up, have failures, detours, things like that, that route can be elongated, and it could seem even further and further away. Almost feel like sometimes when you're messing up or do something and you're just like turning back, and it just seems further and further away from you, that it's hard to have patience on something like that, and you just kind of want it now. It's like it's the instant gratification, but you want the inverse of that, of just the gratification right now, that drip of dopamine. So more so, instead of focusing on excuse me, instead of like, your attention and your focus is kind of your greatest thing right here. I don't know what word I'm looking for, but it's your greatest asset. And so if you were to just redirect your focus to the actions that you can take today, it helps recenter you, it helps keep your mind busy. And as long as you're doing the thing each day, focusing on that and seeing how you feel from that, you get an immediate feedback loop of like, cool, I'm doing the task, I'm doing the thing. And then if you were to just do that for that moment, for that day, and then be proud of that, and then do it again, and making sure that all these things, the tasks that you're doing, is in alignment, and stringing these moments together, focusing on the daily actions, just the daily actions, and then in like no time you will get there. So it's almost like keeping your mind busy. It's if you want to make the analogy of when it comes to like training in the gym, like everyone wants to get fitter, look better naked, look better in their clothes, better naked in their clothes, or whatever the goal may be. But you have to train, you have to allow adaptation to occur, and you have to give its time to do its thing. And that same principle can very much apply to whatever goals that you are trying to pursue, and you're trying to get through that. And so like for me, I think about a lot of different things. It's like I almost see myself as like my body and my mind as almost two separate entities. Like I have to take hold of both somehow to keep them like centered. Otherwise, like one fidgets too much or my mind wanders too much. It's like how can I like get a better like stronghold on both and bring them together? So it's almost like that. It's like if I'm trying to train for a competition, for example, or get to a certain size, or whatever the goal may be for fitness, if I can just focus on today's training session, how is that going to feel? How can I attack that? What is it that I want to feel afterwards? Focus on just that day, the type of stuff, and focus on how good it feels with me working hard, and just focusing on how I can tweak this technique or approach this lift with more intention next time, or really reframe the way I'm looking at things and just focus on that, or focus on my mobility, focus on my sleep, stress management, and focus on these other more sub variables underneath, and focus on that day by day by day by day, and also keeping myself busy in other areas too that is within the realm of like developing myself in this web. And then when you can zoom out without even like just, you're able to look back and all of a sudden you're like, wow, I'm already at my goal. Being so where I'm coming back with this is like having patience. I feel like yes, you have to respect the time and the adaptation for it to occur, but the other half of it is you have to place your attention and focus on something else, because if you place too much attention and focus on the goal, on the tip of the mountain itself, it's gonna feel like you're moving at a snail rate. But if you just focus on what is in the task in front of you, what is the problem that you got to solve in this particular moment, it helps redirect your attention and focus, and just by default time will continue to run its course, and all of a sudden you can look back and it might be like, wow, it's been a day, it's been a week, it's been a couple months, it's been a year. And so that is the greatest piece of advice that I would give to myself if this was me, my 14-year-old self watching this video about wanting to, whatever the goal of me wanting to be a physical therapist when I was younger, the goal of finally having the life, the body, the mindset, the financial status that I wanted, whatever that goal may be, is to try to not just stop focusing on the big things, but focus on what can you add into this mindset, is on the other tasks that are more going to have a greater impact across everything else that you're going to do, which then just by default, everything is going to unfold the way it needs to and get you to where you got to get to, as long as you're focusing on the daily actions, tasks, things that you can actually control, because many things in this life you can't really control. The only two things I have found true in my 28 years of life on this earth is that whatever lens you choose to see the world through and whatever actions you choose to take next are the only two things that you have control over, and everything else is kind of up in the air for whoever's pulling the strings. And so you just gotta keep flipping the lens of whatever frame you're viewing the situation, the world through, and then what's the next thing that you're going to do next? What's your next action, your next move? Because that's kind of my best advice on having better patience and getting through the process of things. Because just telling someone the thing of just have patience is very surface level, and you just want to punch them in the face because it doesn't really give any tangible, actionable things. And so I hope this was helpful to you. And yeah, so that's how really these episodes are going to run, is more so me having some type of thought as I'm sharing on social media or with clients, or just thoughts and lessons. I'm trying to just be a receiver, in whatever signal that I am pinging is what I'm going to use and share back to the world, because this is a signal in the noise. I don't want to just put noise out there, and so whatever I'm learning, whatever comes to mind is the things that I want to share. And I myself have a lot of goals that I want to get better at. And it's a very long time horizon. It's like the notion of, instead of thinking so minor of your goals in months and years, think in decades, right? If you can begin to start thinking in decades, then you're moving in the right direction for sure. So if you can start thinking in decades and having that filter your steps, your actions, and how you approach things, you'll learn that you don't want time to speed up. You want it to slow down. It's kind of like the Click movie where Adam Sandler in it, he has these big goals he's trying to get to, but he pulls out his remote and fast forward through all these moments just so then he can get to those big goals. But then as he gets there, he missed out on all the monumental moments, the moments that really mattered, not just the destination. And then the goalpost just kept on moving. It's not inherently bad to have goals after another and wanting to keep on moving the goalpost, moving up the ruler. But if you're not taking it's you're only if you're not embracing all everything else that unfolds on that path, then what are you doing? You're only going to try to live the highlight moments of your life, then it's just doesn't seem great. And so I'm trying to not want to fast forward to through so many moments and put that down and as a reminder of remembering that moment. And yeah, so I myself am working through this, and if anything, this is a reminder message to myself, because most times most things we hear, we've already heard from another person. Maybe now you're hearing it through a different iteration and a different narrative through my voice, but maybe it's just a reminder that just needs to sink in. And for some people, this will sink in, and for some, it'll just go over their heads, and that's okay. Same for me. Sometimes I needed to get slammed with this certain message a couple times until I learned my lesson. And so yeah, that's how these episodes are going to go. It's just whatever feels right, whatever valuable noise I could put out into the world that is of value to somebody as it was of value to me, then that's just the noise for each video every day this year. And just to continue to get better and articulate my words. And let's check my heart rate. Boom, 83. See? I'm getting less nervous. And fun fact for like a little science bit here is that so around the 100 beats per minute where your heart rate is typically the average range where your like adrenaline, epinephrine gets released, those catecholamines and stuff that really like stimulates your nervous system to bring your heart rate up, and then gets everything more alert. Your arousal gets increased, and then your like psychological focus really narrows in. It's like how people, when they jump on stage, they're talking to the crowd, and all of a sudden they're like, from a psychological perspective, everything like zooms in because physiologically their heart rate's going up. Everything is just kind of firing from both like a vascular pathway and from a neural pathway. There's from their psychological lens, everything, because of their arousal, because for them to perform, everything gets zoomed in. So that's why when people go on stage, they could only see maybe almost nobody or see one person, because they're so focused, and all energy is redirected. So then they're not able to kind of like examine everything within their field of sight and look at everything. It's you're so focused on this one task. And so yeah, just fun fact, 100 beats per minute, it's kind of like the average where that sympathetic drive really gets revved up. And there's something called the baroreceptor reflex inside your heart on top of your carotid, if I believe right. It's been a while since grad school, but that thing, the baroreceptor resetting, can be adjusted depending on your fitness level and at different cardiovascular adaptations and stuff like that. So you can definitely reset it through several different like methods, and over time that adaptation and stuff. But me right now learning how to control my breathing itself is preventing me from having my heart rate go up too high. So if it's not going up too high, then I'm able to calm myself down, and certain signals in my brain, in my heart, and my adrenals aren't like sending out stimulating that like sympathetic nervous system. So my breathing rate does influence the vagus nerve to my heart rate for me to slow down a little bit more. So this is a pretty good skill that I'm actually developing right now. Just a little bit of science kind of sprinkle for you. So yeah, we'll talk about more of that, about some of that stuff in the future as I get more comfortable, because some of that stuff is very vulnerable for me to talk about my science side, because I still have a somewhat negative association of me speaking in that type of manner, feeling like I'm still presenting in front of a class, feeling like I don't know enough, imposter syndrome, all that stuff. So I still feel that too, even though I have my Master of Science in Exercise Physiology and been in this pretty deep, yeah. So anyways, that's round out this episode. That's how things are, how I'm going to run these episodes until I feel like changing them, or my business builds up more and I have some homies that can help record and we can do it on the move. And so yeah, anyways, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Again, if you are listening, thank you so much for your time and attention for listening. Please subscribe if you are not. That really helps me out, and it's a free gesture that you can do that does not cost you any money to support me as for this to grow. And share this with anybody or save it if you need to draw back on this in a future time to just help remind you how to practice having better patience that serves you. All right. Peace out, homies.